Hey, hello. If you're new here, my name is Rain. If you're not new here, welcome back. I really appreciate you stopping on by to my little corner of the internet. I'm a little bit scratchy. I'm kind of coming down with something. Don't know what it is. But in today's video, we're doing another sketchbook session. So if you want to be creative alongside me, I would really appreciate it if you tell me about it down in the comments or watch all the way through this video. And as for what I will be doing, there have been some very high tension situations happening at my school recently. We have had some protests, there has been violence against the students, and with that, it has been very, very stressful as a distance education student, somebody who has not been on campus in 2-3 years now. And when I last went on, it was for a blood draw, and that was it. I left. I got it, and I left. It has been very nerve-wracking for me to not know the safety of my peers, not know the safety of my professors. Some of my professors have gone completely MIA. There have been equipment lockdowns, so teachers who had their stuff in the library no longer have access to it. That includes phones or computers if there were anything that needed to be graded. And with that, it's just been very scary to not know what's happening. And we do know that the response from my school has been very tasteless and relatively incorrect. We do know that they have been presenting misinformation at times. There is video of some of the events that are happening on my campus, and with that, I haven't the school has been saying things that don't necessarily align with the videos, and so I wanted to do an illustration that wasn't necessarily feel good, but did kind of help me process my feelings and something of that kind of adjacent existence. And so I did go in with no conceptual intentions for this illustration, for this little sketchbook doodle, and I didn't really have any sort of objective overall. I just wanted to do something that made me feel a little bit better and felt or allowed me to vent some capacity of the emotions and the stress and all of that. You know, this is a school my brother's going to be going to. He'll be like on the campus at times, and so it's just it's disconcerting to see the response. It's like in the event that this happens when my brother's there on campus for the next 4 to 6 years, you know, he might get his master's or his PhD and things like that at this school. It's like, well, if this happens again, will my brother be safe? And I know it's looking very far into the future, but it's just unnerving for my sibling to be going to a school where, you know, this is the response to what was originally a peaceful protest. And with that, I'm kind of increasingly anxious about it, you know? And I know it's not necessarily all the school's fault. It's really just the president and a few higher up people, and they are being asked for their resignation, to my understanding. So it's hard to know. I don't have a lot of information. And so with that, you know, we might have completely different people responsible for these sorts of situations and environments in the future. And, you know, it's just so up in the air, and it's coming on to finals week. And so I definitely am not feeling wonderful about everything, you know? In tandem with me not feeling super great, I've been kind of enjoying playing around conceptually with a few different concepts, topics of the sorts, right? So I've been very much enjoying the idea of doing an illustration soon that feels hyperpop Greek, synthwave Greek, you know? I don't know if it makes sense, but those kind of, I think it was like mid-2010s, 2015-ish, those like music videos where it's just casual colors and they kind of just vibe to the beat of the music. They're just casual. They're feel good, passive, pretty visuals, but not necessarily anything that's like visually like striking. Like you're supposed to enjoy it, and when you pass it, but you're not supposed to stare at it or engage with it, and it's just fun colors and stuff like that. I've been enjoying the idea of mixing that with that kind of classical Greek marble look, even though classical Greek marble was painted, but that's fine. It was painted and it was painted ugly. But I don't go quite that far with this illustration. I do feel like that would be a little bit too fun and kooky color-wise for the kind of emotions that I'm trying to process. And I'm honestly just not feeling great in general, so it didn't feel like I was in the headspace for something quite that fun. And with that, I mostly just stick to a practicing a more like Greek statue sort of look, feeling, vibe. And I do pull up some references, not in the video, I have them off to the side. None of them really suited what I was hoping to achieve, so I did look at some of. Hello, Fizzgig. I did look at some kind of angel monuments for cemeteries, tombstones, things like that. And that kind of got a little bit closer, but still pretty far off. So I ended up having to mingle that imagery a little bit more than I intended to when I started the actual sketch, you know? I've been kind of pulling 8-hour work days, and so I was definitely not in the mood to kind of do anything particularly colorful in my sketchbook. I say that, I should clarify. Being chronically ill, I am not super adept at pushing for 8 hours straight. I usually need naps and breaks and time to rest my head, my migraines, reduce my pain, things like that. But I'm also in school at the same time. I have a 15-hour internship. I work 30 hours a week now. I don't work 8 hours each day. 30 hours a week, 15-hour internship, and then I have like 10 hours for my other internship, and then my 20 units. So it's definitely been really hard on me these past few weeks, but I need money to survive. So I've been taking on students that I probably really don't have the like personal capacity to work with. I can work with them and I can do my job, but it's really hard on me at the end of the day, and I'm not feeling very good. It's definitely taking a toll on my health. So I feel I should clarify that because, people generally do work 8-hour work days, and, it's kind of the standard in our country, and they're fine. And I don't want to complain about the 8-hour workday because I know it is the standard, and I know that it's just what we do in this country. It's just kind of a little bit harder on me with my health. And I am very fortunate to work from home, and so it does reduce a lot of the pain. I couldn't do 8 hours if I was working on campus and having all of that extra stimulation and stuff like that, but I definitely haven't been doing super great, right? And so the past 2 weeks-ish, I've been really in a bad headspace. By the end of the day, when I do get to illustrate and draw and enjoy my time, I've been having students calling me on my weekend, like Sundays and stuff, with urgent projects they need done, and I just don't know how to say no to people, and it's been really, really hard on me doing this. I also don't get paid when I work on Sunday, which is just, why am I doing it? I don't know, because I hate myself. But to be very clear, I do want to be able to work an 8-hour workday one day and feel okay, but it's been very much taking up all of my spoons recently, and with finals week coming, I'm just really not doing good at managing and balancing everything, and it's been hard for me personally, and I'm hoping to get to a place where I'm better at this, but my art has just been so low effort, and I felt particularly bad about my art because I don't really have the energy to put into it that I want to. And that's kind of where I'm at in this video. I'm really not feeling good, and I'm exhausted, and I have a huge animation project that I need to do. And I'm not all there, right? And that's okay. But with that, I do think it actually has allowed me to free myself a little bit artistically. YouTube applies a tiny bit of a pressure on me to create art that's actually like worth looking at and good from a like aesthetic standpoint. And so getting to a headspace where I don't have it in me to feel particularly self-conscious about the actual end product of something I'm doing in my sketchbook, which is usually my absolute shit show location, did allow me to play around with proportions a little bit more in a way that's kind of indicative of how I like to draw. I very much do like giving people like long torsos and stuff like that, and I feel like I've become insecure with body proportions and sketching the way I usually sketch because I feel like my art doesn't always look right. And with that, I do feel particularly freed with this sketch. I do feel like I got to play around in a way that felt good. And I do feel like I'm going to be getting to a place soon mentally where I can create better content for you guys and make my work more enjoyable for you guys to look at, because I do feel like I've been slacking a little bit recently. I mean, my last video was just me rendering skin, and I don't know if that's interesting for people, watching me kind of go through the process of illustrating flesh effectively and things like that. And I do want my art to be something that you guys enjoy looking at and feel particularly enticed with. So, you know, I'm optimistic that I'll be feeling better once finals weeks pass in a couple weeks, and one of my internships will be over at that point, which will feel super good. And I'll be able to focus more on my life. You know, I'll be starting graduate school where my life is supposed to revolve around art, like it's a full-time job. And with that, I do think that I will feel a lot more emotionally and mentally free to play with my art, and I'm going to have a lot of fun critiques coming my way from my professors that I'm able to then present to you guys and really show you guys what graduate school looks like as an artist, specifically an at-home artist, which I know isn't really the standard or the ideal for people who want to go to art school. And I know that kind of I will be getting peer critiques. We have seminar critique sessions regularly to my understanding, but basically I don't believe you need to go to an in-person art school to get the art school experience, nor do I believe that you need to go to art school to be a good artist. You know, I think as long as you have the capacity to critique your own work thoroughly and understand where your own personal shortcomings are, and understand those fundamentals and how you are twisting them to suit your perception, then you are able to be a good artist. I think that you do not need to go to art school to be a wonderful artist. That is something I am very, very firm in. I want to be an art professor, and I want to be an art professor, you know? I want to give undergrads an experience that was better than my horrible experience as a student, right? And I want to be a good art teacher that encourages people to explore their creativity even if it isn't artistic, the way that college kind of tells you you need to be, right? I do not believe in any capacity that artistic expression needs to be illustrative or in ceramics and things of that nature, and I do feel like that's something that we don't really allow people to understand, and we deny people who have more analytical and logical minds the ability to explore their creativity because we don't tell them that they're creative in the right way, right? And I want to deconstruct that. I want to create disability representation in the college level, and I want disabled students to actually have the ability to be artists and feel good about being artists, because that was something that was so hard for me. And I'm going into this because I want to change the undergrad experience for people who take an art class because they have to. And I also want people who want to be artists and are getting studio art degrees to feel included and like they can be successful one day, because that really wasn't the kind of ideology that was presented to me. And, you know, I still don't necessarily believe that I can be a successful artist because of that rhetoric, right? And I know that's not true. I know I could be a successful artist, but I'm terrified of being one because of how it was presented to me in art school. And so in not art school I got my degrees in botany and studio art. It's not an art school, it's more of a science school, admittedly. My school is definitely more science focused. But with that, I want part of my graduate program to be me learning how to be an artist and feeling good about it. And that's something I very much want to bring to my YouTube channel as well. I want to feel good about being an artist because, you know, I look at artists who I absolutely revere and love and adore the work of, and I see their absolutely incomprehensible, low effort sketches, and I think that that is gorgeous. And I don't have the ability to look at my low effort sketches the same way, even though I know someone else sees them the way that I see the artist I revere, right? I know that somebody can look at my low effort sketches and feel inspired. And I know people can watch this video and look at this 30-minute play around sketch where I hardly cared, and they can think it looks really, really nice. And I need to go through the process of deconstructing the mindset that just because I don't feel like I put enough in, or I cared enough, or I am as good as other artists, that I am therefore incapable of inspiring other people. And I know that's not true, and I know that that's just bad rhetoric that is very intensely spewed to people. And I'm going to make it a personal goal throughout graduate school to deconstruct the narrative, because there are beginner artists where I see their kind of newness and their freshness to art, and I'm inspired by their pure joy at being an artist and creating art, because I do not believe you need to have art as a career to be an artist in some capacity. And I have a teacher who has a very interesting perspective on what it means to be an artist. And I do want to kind of go through the process of deconstructing that ideology one day and what it means, and go through the process of discussing what being an artist means to me and how I feel about it. And I'm just gonna try and find time to make an illustration that feels appropriate for that discussion, right? And with that, something that can create a visual stimulus for a more kind of philosophical discussion, because I don't think there is a right or wrong answer, and I think it's always going to depend on the individual, right? And with that, it does create a lot of room for nuance that I won't be able to have without the comment section, and so I want people to stay engaged in that video so that we can have a thorough conversation, you know? But I'm somebody who likes to have conversations like that. If any of you want to have that conversation in the comments, go ahead and drop it. Like your thoughts. What does being an artist mean to you? And I will engage with you very thoroughly. And we can challenge each other's ideas if you're feeling up to it, or just giving me food for thought so that I have those for the future, you know? It's something that means a lot to me, at least, you know? I do think a large part of being an artist is learning how to deconstruct the narratives that are presented to you, and learning how to feel good about yourself and the art you create, even if it's not what other people enjoy, you know? Is it art if everyone enjoys it? Maybe not. Maybe not. I think that you should always understand that there are going to be people that hate your work, absolutely despise it, think it's not great, and they are just people who don't have the same aesthetic taste that you do, or see the value in differing opinions. There are artists where I do not like their art style at all, per se, but I value what they're bringing to the table and the messaging that they present. You know, there is there are whole art movements that I really do not enjoy at all. You know, I do not like the Cubism art movement. I really don't. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't good and important conversations that were being held about the work. You know, I think we can not like an art style and not like the art visually, while also engaging in the critical discussion that needs to be presented. And maybe I'm getting too art history geek about this, actually. But circling back to where this is going, I've been kind of permitting myself to enter the negative headspace that maybe I'm not a real artist because my art isn't to a particular standard, when I know that isn't true. And that doesn't even align with my definition of what being an artist means. And that is something that I need to actively start to challenge properly in my life, right? And so I'm going to be working on that throughout graduate school, but I'm also going to be making YouTube videos where I continue to challenge this and force myself to go through the steps of deconstructing it publicly, I guess. And it's going to start with defining what an artist means to me and what I think it means to be an artist. And from there, the process of deconstructing the narratives and analyzing my work in ways that allows me to kind of defy the negative opinions that have been framing my head space recently, if that makes sense. I hope it does. Topic of discussion has been talked out enough that I can kind of discuss the art now without feeling completely stupid, because I don't remember the actual sketching process of this very well. It was literally last night. I did this last night. I don't remember it really. I didn't feel good at all. Very much was feeling pretty sick. I ended up having a bit of an allergic reaction that didn't feel great at all either. So I don't really remember the sketching process. I do remember I found AI along the way that was just absolutely awful. The hand was completely broken. I was like, wow, I thought AI got better at this. It didn't. It didn't at all. And I was just like, I just don't trust anything. So at one point I did close all my references and I was like, I can't do this anymore. The internet's too scary. I can't function. Had a full mini breakdown over it. I don't know if it was because I was like in a bad headspace or because I was emotional or because I just didn't have the energy to kind of assess AI, and then it was just like nothing from there on. It was gone. This pen came with a like sticky note set that I needed because I have to do textbook notations for some of my students who can work independently but they have a hard time figuring out where the information is. And I think it's a nice brown, not like a sepia brown, really, a bit darker than that. And that on the toned paper was very, very nice. It definitely felt softer. And well, I do think that the emotions I was feeling are much more harsh and intense and suited for a black. It felt nice to work on something subtle, and it felt nice to have a color other than black in my sketchbook and to get to enjoy that a little bit. I very much do appreciate this pen. I imagine it's incredibly cheap because the sticky note set was incredibly cheap, and it's kind of a trashy felt tip. Like, I think the tip is gonna fray really quickly, but I didn't know I could like a brown pen. I don't know. I should definitely look into this pen more. It definitely felt nice. I'm sure if I like ran anything wet over it, alcohol, marker, water, anything like that, it would smudge to the high heavens that don't exist. Beyond comprehension. Infinity smudge, just bad. But I don't know. It's nice to work in a felt tip. I kind of wanna play with some of my old Crayola. Yes, Crayola. I have some Crayola super tips. I love them for stupid little animations and like little fun like sketchbook editions, adding a little bit of vibrancy here and there. And I kind of want to bring those out and kind of add some color to my sketchbook with them some more now that I've enjoyed this felt tip. And I don't know, it definitely made me want to be more playful in my sketchbook, which I've been wanting to get back to. But with that kind of dismissed momentarily, I still don't know how to draw wings. I have not figured it out. I probably never will figure it out at this rate. But I did just kind of do a loose sketch and just feel it out, let it happen. Kind of big, chunky feathers. I know they're nonsensical. I should have pulled up a bird reference, but I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like I needed to. This is a non-committal sketch, and I think to an extent with that, I almost need to get better at being playful and careless with the seriousness of my sketches, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think that does, but I think you should always use a reference if you want to take something seriously. I think if you want to do a finished illustration, you should pull up references and you should be well informed through visual stimulus what things are looking at is possible. However, I don't necessarily think that everything in your sketchbook needs to be that serious, right? And with that, I found that this was incredibly fun and very enjoyable. to not care and to not have a reference for a moment, and to just kind of see where my brain led me and figure out kind of how I perceived this conceptually, just passively within the way I have it in the archives of my abyssal brain. And so it was very, very enjoyable. I had quite a bit of fun just realizing, yep, I don't know how to draw wings, but I'm not mad about it. It felt cute, it felt playful. I felt good while doing it, I suppose you could say. And with that, I kind of, I don't know, I enjoyed letting loose. I think I definitely want to do some fun blob work after this, just scribbling onto paper, drawing random shapes and seeing what I can find in them. It definitely made me want to be more carefree for sure. But with that, I do suppose that the ultimate imagery is almost like my illustration Holy Damage in terms of overall thematic feel to it. Holy Damage being a digital illustration. Wings, didn't know how to draw them then either, by the way. But I do very much like that illustration still. I'm kind of sad it didn't get as much love as I had hoped, right? Definitely one of those situations where you're like, oh, kind of sad. I really liked how I rendered the skin on this one, but that's all right. But it feels kind of similar in feeling to it. An inky, dying kind of fallen angel feeling. Wow, my glasses come into frame? Forgot about that. Sorry. Sometimes I forget I can't see. I have an astigmatism. It's not like blurry type of can't see. It's like I get intense migraines and see shadows doing things that they shouldn't be doing. But I like the inky angel. I like the solemnity. That might be how you say that. I don't know. We're gonna pretend I know how to say words and move on for a moment. But I'm a professional, I swear. But I like the solemn but accepting kind of feeling that the facial expression provides on the character. They're not completely surprised or shocked or even bothered by the blood, by the concept of almost just turning to nothing, inking away, I guess, just becoming something gross, something sludgy. They're not surprised or shocked or disconcerted about what's happening, this sheer amount of ink coming from them, which whether or not you want it to be ink or blood is up to you. I always perceive my ink as blood, right? But I do allow for it to be a little bit less graphic for people who are not interested and such. I do draw it black most of the time. So with that, I enjoy it. I like the facial expression. I think it's capturing to an extent how I've been feeling about it recently. I understand and I accept and I'm aware and I'm not surprised by anything that's going on and how it's occurring. However, I equally am upset and kind of sad about it, upset in a way where it's more of just a personal discourse, not necessarily I'm not upset with anybody in particular, but I'm upset, I guess. I'm sad. I'm feeling unwell about it, and it's unnerving and it's upsetting and things like that. I don't know how else to say it other than the fact that I'm not upset at anybody and I'm not upset, but I'm upset. This is what therapy's for, people, is to help you get the vocabulary to talk. But I just feel like there is a passive acceptance to these emotions where you can't change anything at the moment and you can't make it different, yet you do still feel for the situation and you have emotions surrounding it. And that's where I'm at. There's nothing I can do. I can't change anything that's happening currently. I can't protect my peers on campus. I can't make a change even if I was there, I would be useless, you know. I can't stand by their side in any capacity. And with that, I'm being confronted with the fact that I am upset for them, but I understand that there's really nothing that's going to come from this without a systematic decision being made at the top, you know? Until the police are called off, my peers are going to be in danger. And that is not something that they can do, you know? It is not something that they fundamentally can do. And I can't change the police's decisions or make a decision be made on behalf of people who have the authority to do that, you know? And so the expression felt like the most important component to me. I didn't want the body or the outfit to very much matter, you know? I wanted to fill the space and I wanted to feel complete, but really what mattered the most was the face and the hand. The poorly rendered hand, yes, but the kind of just feeling from the top up was what was important. And usually I try to make the bottom just as visually interesting, but I felt by having something there where it could keep the eye and make it feel whole, but it allowed for people to find more priority at the top and linger there, was a better move for a simple sketch. You know what I mean? I don't need to engage beyond the top, and I also don't feel like cropping it to just the top has quite as much power, if that tracks. Like, I don't, by cropping it to just the top and not having that external context of there being nothing else around, I feel like it doesn't have as much importance. I feel like the vacancy and the lack of importance around it is what draws the focus to what is more meaningful. I think that's how that works. You'd think I'd know, being an art student, but I don't. Ultimately being a little bit more just how I personally perceive composition and how I just personally feel like things are more important when there's less important stuff around it to express those sorts of, I don't know, the lack of anything around that can be additional. And so I did add some more ink to the wings. I did want it to feel like this is a fully consumptive process within the actual body. The dripping, always important. There's nothing like drippy inky goo when it comes to to blood and kind of creating that more intense feeling of somber and melancholy. But it also is it kind of pushes additionally that feeling of indifference to the rest of the body, and the reality of what's happening everywhere except for that passive indifference on the face, that not indifference, that passive sadness, but acceptance. And as always, my white gel pens never love me. They never work. They're always mad. And I can't say in retrospect, not in retrospect, I can't say now that this has sat for a while, this pen and white gel pen do not get along. It'll show up better when I do my kind of scan over. White gel pen does not like it. But I very intentionally did this on toned paper because I wanted the white gel pen to matter, and to be more fun and spicy. I do get kind of sad working on white paper because the white gel pen just doesn't stand out how I like it to. It just looks so good on brown paper, you know? And so that was kind of the only thing I thought about. I was like, I'm gluing brown paper and I'm using white gel pen. I'm doing something. I had thought about doing kind of a white crayon or a white pastel and really doing a more intense shading kind of portrait study, but I don't know. I didn't want to be that involved in like actually trying to recapture something at the end. But dang, white gel pen just looks so good on tone paper. It's amazing. It's so gorgeous. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have words. But like brown paper is just magical. And like you get so much brown paper, like brown paper bags, just cut it up, put it in your sketchbook, it looks great. Adding little strips of it here and there to create kind of some visual intrigue is awesome. I love brown paper, man. It is so good. But I don't even remember what I was talking about. I just love brown paper and white gel pen. But it makes it feel powerful and it makes it feel more intentional, even though I have no intentions with where I put it other than it feels right. I don't know. It's one of those unfortunate things that I really do need to analyze my own perception of it, because, like, for me, I just do it because it feels good, right? So, I don't know. Maybe that'll be a whole discussion in and of itself someday. As usual, I am very out of time, and so I would just like to say, like if you like, dislike if you dislike, comment if you have anything to say, or you don't have anything to say at all, that's fine. Subscribe if you like to see more of my content or interested in any of the video topics I'm hoping to do in the future. And I think that's it. So have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are, and bye-bye. Thank you.